Today I have an incredible interview for you with Helen Rose Collier Jacobs, who is a fearless mentor and has one of the most incredible stories you have probably ever heard in your whole entire life. So strap yourselves in, because I heard Helen speak at our event last week and she absolutely blew everybody away. And I just thought, let's get Helen on camera, let's get her to share her story, because the world needs to hear this. So firstly, Helen, thank you so much for coming here and talking to me today.
It's my absolute pleasure.
I'd love to just very briefly for you to sum up for people, what is your message for the world? Like, if you were to give these people listening here a message now, what would you want them to know?
The main thing for me that would mean a lot for me, for you to understand, is that it doesn't matter what your personal circumstances are. There is no barrier or no reason in the world why you can't be designing your own life and fulfilling your dreams, much like I am right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Helen has been through some crazy stuff. So Helen, very brief description of your journey. I know we're talking about albinism. I know you're a mum of 6 children.
I am.
And you raised them and provided for them while having all of these health issues and stuff too.
And I've homeschooled for 27 years too.
Yeah, amazing. What's it been like having albinism? Because I don't think even most people know what that is.
Albinism is essentially a Latin word for white. So I have no pigment and the melanin is missing from my skin. So being in brightly lit environments is actually extremely challenging for me. Quite often I will go about and I actually can't see very well. Although I've been trained to not look like I can't see very well, because I didn't want to become a target, because if you look vulnerable or weak when you're out on the streets of North London, where I live, it can be quite dangerous. And so I have actually taken classes in how to appear that I don't have a visual impairment.
Wow. Okay.
So that empowers me to actually go out and about, because there are a lot of gangs where I live, and we have been targeted a few times as family at various intervals since living there for the last 5 years. Excuse me. So yeah, having albinism, it's been a journey, because obviously I do have a different appearance that kind of sets me apart from most people. And my form of albinism is actually the rarest kind as well. It's called Ocleantatious 1. So that's quite a mouthful. Yeah, I have the rarest kind.
Well done.
So even like random hospital appointments or doctor's appointments or mainstream medical care and things like that, it becomes a curiosity, because they bring in all the students to look, because they don't have someone walking in the door that they can show as an example.
I know something really important for you in your message is about not pitying people, and we've talked about that. And you were telling me you just came back from America, right, where you were going because you just got your first book, which is coming out. Tell everyone the name of your book.
My book my life story is called It Depends on Your Perspective, and it should be out at the end of January, beginning of February. I'm keeping everything crossed that it's no later than that, because I've waited a very long time for that moment.
And you were saying about when you came back on the plane, people were giving funny looks for you and your family, because you showed me a family photo, and your family are very different. Some are huge, some are smaller, some are covered in all tattoos. It's like you're a very interesting family dynamic.
Well, as a mum, and I have homeschooled for 27 years, like I said, and they've all gone on to university and doing their own thing. One of the most fundamental things for me was making sure that they were all individual. They weren't all part of the same pack. They weren't all following the leader. They weren't, I've always encouraged them, make up your own mind, don't even listen to me. So they have inbuilt skills to be individual, and that is how they present themselves as individuals. So we look like we're all different, but we are very much a tight-knit group.
And this was something really I was impressed. So a few of Helen's children came to our event last week, and they're really happy. And some more of Helen's story is being on benefits, on government benefits, raising her children, 6 children, providing for them, while at the same time being what you call morbidly obese. Like, how big were you at your biggest?
Oh gosh.
I know you never ask a lady her weight, right?
Well, I'm sitting here at 11 stone 1 pound, and I've lost 20 stone and 2 pounds.
Wow.
In total.
So you were over 30 stone.
Yeah. At my biggest, I think I actually went up to over 31 stone, and I was dying. I was dying in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, or really suffering.
And what made you change things? What flipped things around? Because
I literally did wake up one day and just decided I did not want to live like that anymore. I was in a disastrous long-term relationship, which was pretty soul-destroying. And one of his big things was he really liked big women. And, I just didn't want to be a big woman. And so I did make the decision, and then, like many people do, you go online and you start researching, how can I help myself, what can I do, I'm pretty much stuck like this. And it led me down the road of communicating with various specialists and various people who could help me. And I just literally did start bombarding people with emails saying, look, I've had a lot of suffering, my soul is completely destroyed, I don't want to live like this anymore, I feel like it's my time, I deserve a life. I'm going to get that life with or without your help, but I'd appreciate your input. And I just asked the questions, please will you help me?
Yeah. And now you take people on the journey of transformation, right? So you help people now transform their life. Like, what prompted you to start mentoring people? Because that's a huge step from being morbidly obese, being paralyzed, being legally blind, and now you help people to make their dreams come true. Like,
honestly,
how does that happen?
It was a fairly easy transition for me because I started blogging online in 2003. In fact, I can tell you the exact date and time. It was that such a profound moment. People actually started contacting me and sharing bits about themselves because I was, and it just developed and developed and developed. So since 2003, and then it got to like where I was losing weight, and I decided to do all of this in the public eye because I had amassed quite a following. Loyal people were really rooting for me when I said, I've got to lose weight, I'm going to do this thing. And I decided that accountability was like number one. So they were my accountability. So I carried on doing it all publicly. And it got to the point where people were asking me, please will you help me? Please can you tell us how you're doing it? Can we join in? And it literally evolved over time where I found that I was giving the same advice. And so I developed that into an actual system. I realised that I actually had the steps for a system, and I started giving that to people. And then they were transforming even quicker. And that was such a powerful thing, and it just made me so thrilled when people were contacting me and saying, I've done this great thing and it's all because of you, all because you encouraged me and you showed me the way. And I was stuck in fog, but you showed me the way and you lit the way. And, I think for people to follow somebody who's actually done the work themselves and actually put in the investment and the time and the energy and actually achieved, that's a pretty powerful thing. So by me leading by example is what's led me down this road of being a transformational mentor.
Amazing. If you get a chance to see Helen speak, by the way, check out her 4D system. It's absolutely incredible and can completely change your life. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in people you've helped?
The biggest change most people experience initially is being able to define who they are and design in their own lives. So they actually get clarity on what it is they actually want from this life thing, because this life thing can be quite scary for quite a few people. It's like the future's not written, and so getting clarity on what they're actually striving for is the first thing. And so we've seen changes in people who have been completely stuck, and they never thought they would ever be doing anything. I had one guy tell me that he was completely blind. He completely lost his vision in a terrible incident on leave from the army. And he kept on talking about how he was obsessed with speed. So he was listening to racing cars and listening to sporting events. And the Olympics were on at the time. And while we were talking, he was listening to somebody going down a ski slope. And he said to me, "Oh, do you know, I'd really want to do that. I'd love to do that. I used to ski when I was a teenager. It would feel natural to me, I think." And so I said, "Well, there's a dry ski slope. Why don't we go?" He was, "Oh, no, I couldn't possibly." And I said, "But you just told me that's one of your dreams, you know, that you'd love to do that. You just said the words, I would love to do that." And next thing, he's gone down the slope, and now he's the world record holder for speed skiing in the Guinness Book of Records ever.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
So if a completely blind person can become a world record champion skier, like, what can you do? I love it. Helen, I'd love to end with some question and answers, some quick fire questions, okay, so people can get to know you. First thing, what are the weirdest questions that people ask you when they see you? Because you do look different, and that's a beautiful part of your brand, right?
I actually love being different, but it wasn't always this way for me.
And you are now part of a big campaign in America.
Yes, Positive Exposure. It's celebrating diversity, and I'm going to be the face of another diversity campaign associated with them. And I had a photo shoot when I was in New York, and there's going to be a huge 8-foot tall poster billboard thing in Grand Central Station in New York City at the end of January.
Fantastic.
So I'm very excited about
That's
it.
good.
But the number one question that I get asked wherever I go, I could be doing an event and I could be handling really sensitive material, but somebody will always ask, "I absolutely love your eyelashes, how do you keep them white?" I don't touch my eyelashes, and I'd never dye them. They're just white.
How does that make you feel when people talk about your appearance when you're sharing something so powerful?
When I'm at an event and people ask me questions about my appearance, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with the content, and I haven't even mentioned that I have a difference, them highlighting it, for me, it does change. It changes my energy flow. It changes the way that I'm perceiving how I'm being perceived in the room. And so it's very difficult, because I don't want to be seen as somebody with a difference. I am just a woman, same like every other woman everywhere. You know, yeah, viva la difference. You know, I do have a different appearance, and there's a time and place to ask somebody about that. It's like men typically ask me if I have white pubic hair, and that always goes down like a lead balloon, because I just say yes, and they don't really know what to do with that. So it's like, you know, what are they expecting me to say?
Aren't we interesting people?
Yeah.
Amazing. I saw your talk last week, and you shared something really powerful. I'd love for you just to talk about one of the most challenging moments that you've experienced.
I actually died during this experience. I was on my way out to an appointment, and my husband usually would drive everywhere, but we'd had a huge argument that morning over money, or lack thereof. And so I left because I didn't want to be late, and I was walking, and it was literally about 100 yards from our home, and two men came either side of me, and they dragged me behind a set of wheelie bins, and I was actually brutally raped. And then I tried to get away, and they jumped and stamped and kicked all over my abdominal cavity. And then I still tried to fight back, and so I ended up getting stabbed in the throat. And a policeman saved my life, because I actually did die at the scene. So the most challenging experience for me was overcoming. I woke up from that nightmare in hospital, pregnant, and paralysed from diaphragm down. And the most challenging thing for me that I've ever had to overcome was being told that I'd never walk again. Because in that moment I was absolutely furious, and I was angry enough to do something about it. My life flashed before my eyes in that moment, because I'd already been in bed for 7 years, and then the guy sort of stroking my handle intimately, saying, "I'm very sorry, dear. You're just going to have to get used to doing things from a seated position." And I was so angry. I was like, no, because I'm the one who's had the prison sentence, and this is not going to be who I am. This is not going to be how my children see me. I mean, there was long periods I was tranquilised. Every time I complained to a doctor, they thought, oh, she's just upset, and they gave me tranquilizers. So I was high as a kite most of the time, and I could just numb myself out of existence. And so there was many periods in my life where I went to bed in January and woke up to much excitement, listening to much excitement in the house, because they were putting up Christmas decorations that year. You know, I'd lost long periods of time over the 7 years, and I couldn't wash, couldn't do anything that a normal, regular woman should be doing, especially a mum. You know, I had a baby who was now 7, so I had breastfed him in bed, so I couldn't have surgery at first because I was adamantly breastfeeding. So I had to wait till he was like 2, and then I started having surgery, and I had 15 rounds of surgery, and it just made things worse and worse and worse. And so I came away with that overwhelming sense that this is not going to be my life. I just knew that was total and utter crap. I wasn't going to be getting used to doing things from a seated position.
And I know you told me about a big turnaround you had, and there was a TV show that followed you, and there was a time where you looked out of a window and you saw something that changed your life.
Yes.
Can you tell people about that one?
Well, part of my rehabilitation I had extensive nerve surgery. It was a pilot test. I agreed to be a pilot test case for this particular surgery, where they take nerve channels from behind the back of your head and they reroute them down to join up these two areas, so like your thighs and your diaphragm. And they took me to see how this was working out, and they said they have to take me to this healthy environment called a gym. And I was very, very visually impaired, so I hadn't seen a gym before. So to me, they might as well have been telling me they're going to take me in a spaceship, because I didn't know what it was. I mean, obviously I'd heard of gyms, you know, but actually being presented with the task of going into one, I was like, but I can't move. And I was very frightened. I was actually like proper scared. I've never been so scared in my life, like to do something, to try something. I've always been really confident. Suddenly there I was, about this big, unable to go in the door. So it took 4 attempts to persuade me to go in the door. I was crying and vomiting and wetting myself and everything. But as soon as I held my breath on this last day, I said, all right, let's try it, let's just do it, And I held my breath, closed my eyes, I screwed my face up like this, and they pushed the wheelchair through the door. As soon as I was in the door, and the man said to me, "You can open your eyes now, Helen." I opened one like this, and then I opened the other one, and in front of me, outside of the window, there was an athletics track. And I had 4 personal trainers talking away about various things that we were going to be trying in the gym, and various pathway to health that they wanted to try with me. Didn't hear a word of it. Did not hear a single word they said. The track was there in my head, and I could taste it, feel it, smell it. I was running around that track, and there was no looking back for me. That was the moment. And they were asking me, okay, so what do you want to try first? I want to go out there. But no, Helen, we need to do rehabilitation in here first. We weren't going to use the track. I'm like, no, I want to go out there. Yes, but Helen, it's raining. We're not going out there. I went, no. You asked me what I wanted. You asked Helen what she wanted. Helen wants to go out there. And then every time I went, the guy, before I'd even listened to a single word he said, I refused, just flatly refused. No, you've got to take me out on the running track first. And then over some weeks went by, and he was training me to move my muscles, and I had to grow a core from scratch. He said, what do you want to do now? I said, I want to crawl around that track. And as I've already run it several billion times in my head, I know I can get all the way around. And then we went out, and he said, no, look, when do you think you're going to be able to run this thing? I went, Easter Bank Holiday Monday. This was the 7th of February. And Easter Bank Holiday Monday was the 30th of March. And he looked around and he said, you know what, I believe her. I actually believe her. And that was pretty much all it took. And I just focused my mind. My mind was just continuously running around this track, losing weight, running, losing weight, running, losing weight, running. I was like a dog with a bone. Nobody could talk me out of this thing. 30th of March came. I turned up there. I walked there. I surprised the hell out of myself. Even I walked there. Didn't take the wheelchair. Walked there, walked in the door. And right at that moment, it started snowing. So they were about to close the track. And I was pushed through the door. No, that's it. I'm running around that track today. We planned it today. You promised me I could try. And I did. I tried. There's a video on my YouTube channel and Facebook. And I think I've uploaded it to Instagram as well, my first run, because my daughter was sat at the side of the track crying her eyes out because she just couldn't believe that I was going round. But I did it. Nothing could persuade me otherwise.
That's really awesome, Helen. You're a massive inspiration for loads of reasons, and I know that people out there are going to want to know more. This is just scratching the surface of Helen's story, by the way. And you definitely need to check out her talk. You can see it on our StandOut Speakers Academy page. Also check out Helen. How do people find you, Helen? Where do they find out more about you?
I'm the creator of the Celebrate Life Guild, so it's celebratelifeguild.global, and the videos on there as well, along with lots of other information. I'm a transformational mentor because I understand completely how it feels to be told that you're not going to be able to achieve something. You're not going to, well, that's a crazy dream. What are you thinking that for? I totally understand that. And to me, I wouldn't let anybody tell me I wasn't running around that running track. Not for a million years. Couldn't stand for 10 seconds when I said I was going to do it. But here we are. And I encourage everybody to have a long, hard look. What is it that you really want to do? And just start doing it.
Beautiful. If Helen can overcome all of that, you can literally do anything. So whatever your dream is, go try it. Get Helen's book, connect with her on our website. She's a really beautiful person, and if you're looking for someone to give you a push, to hold your hand, to make you do the thing, get in touch with Helen. She's a fantastic mentor too. Helen, thank you so much for today.
You.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I know we're just getting started, right? And the world's so exciting. Yeah. And what's next for you?
Well, I've got my book coming out. I've got an audio course, which will be available in a few days. I also run journaling workshops and big events. I speak at big events. So I'm trying to reach as many people as possible, because I really do genuinely know that people hold themselves back, and there's really no need to do that anymore. We're living in a very consciously aware state of being now, and it's time. Embrace yourself and just get out there and do whatever it is that your heart desires you to be doing.
Fantastic. If you're looking for a great speaker, make sure to book Helen. She will make you cry, she'll make you laugh, she'll kick your ass. Thank you so much, and I really look forward to seeing what the future has in store.
Thank you.